welcome back to Leeds Lately. Now, obviously, the season has been paused, so the content from now until a little bit later in the year is going to be about the World Cup. And today's video is going to kind of be a bit of a mishmash between a reaction to the England 6-2 game, which I'm doing this first part of the video after, and then later on I'm going to have a little watch of the USA versus Wales game to see how not only Adams and Aronson are getting on, but also how Dan James plays and the game as a whole. So firstly then, let's get into that England game, because there were a lot of positives to take, and for me one of the biggest ones is this man right here, Jude Bellingham. Was unbelievable. For somebody of 19 years old to put in a performance like that on the world stage. I know it's against Iran, and the people will be saying in the comments, I can guarantee before you even do it, people will be saying it's only Iran. But Iran are ranked 20th in the world. In recent times, they've had a really, really good defence and have managed to keep teams out against them. Mehdi Taremi is a really, really good striker for Porto, and Azmoun as well has been an absolute talisman for Iran over recent times. And you saw the fact that they both nearly scored. Taremi scored two, but Azmoun had his shot saved brilliantly by Pickford onto the bar. Those two were dangerous strikers, so Iran had their chances, and that's kind of the negative side for me. But we'll get into that in a minute. First of all, like I say, Jude Bellingham from midfield, so for someone of 19 years old to run that game like he did, he's unbelievable. He was in all the right places at all the right times. It wasn't just going forward and creating things, which he did a lot of. He scored his goal. He got an assist, I think. If he didn't get an assist, he created so many chances that he deserved one. And also he broke the play up well in midfield as well, showing a little different side to his game, that he can get back. He can be that aggressive midfield player, and he can win the ball back and get attacks going as well. So for me, absolute standout performance from that game was Jude Bellingham. But let's not forget Bukayo Saka as well, who got in to calmly finish 2 goals really, really well. So he's joint top scorer of the tournament alongside Mehdi Taremi, who scored 2 for Iran, and Enner Valencia, who scored in yesterday's game against Qatar in the opener. But England did really, really well. And what impressed me most of all was the fact that Iran are a team who, up until recently, as in this game, had actually been really, really effective at keeping people out and sitting in that back 5 system and stopping people having chances. But England were able to really rip through that. And that's something that we've seen issues with at Leeds over the recent weeks and months, this whole season really. I've complained that when teams sit in against us, we don't really know what to do under Jesse Marsch, and we aren't able to create stuff. But England, obviously, we've got a wealth of talent at England, more than what we have at Leeds. But England were able to rip apart Iran 6 times to score. They had 7 shots, scored 6, so very clinical. But we were able to go through that defence 6 times and score 6 goals against Iran. So that is really, really positive for me. The fact that we were able to break them down, create chances and put them away is really, really positive, because, like I say, it's not an easy thing to do, and we've been struggling with it at Leeds. Calvin, obviously you'll see the new setup in the back there, didn't get on today, but I don't think he really needed to. I think he's also still recovering from an injury. People complaining about him going to the World Cup, but he was England's player of the tournament in the Euros, and kind of we've shown by the fact that Harry Maguire started, form doesn't really play that much into it. It's your form for your country that matters, and Calvin's never put a foot wrong for England. He's always done really well, so that's why he's in the squad, and I don't think he was really ready to play today. But overall, we created loads of chances. We did really, really well in this game, but there is defensive frailties for me. Against a team that is stronger in attack than what Iran are, we will be ripped apart, because John Stones was out of position for the one where Azmoun hit the bar after that Pickford really good save, and one was slipped in behind Harry Maguire as well. Obviously the penalty, if that's given as a penalty, then the one in the first half where Harry Maguire is just gripped around the waist and pulled down has to be given as a penalty as well. So we kind of write that one off, but we should not be giving free kicks away in those positions that led to that. So yeah, a bit disappointed on the defensive side. I know all the pundits on Match of the Day Live on BBC One were saying, like, look, this is brilliant, loads of positives to take. But I kind of agree with Southgate in the fact that he said he's not too happy with that, because obviously you need both sides of the game to work. And when we come up against a France, a Brazil, an Argentina, anybody like that with wonder players in attack, I do feel like we're going to struggle a lot more. And so tonight, once you see me come back, I'll also be able to talk about whether I think Wales or USA have a great chance of cutting through us, because I think they have. Well, Gareth Bale is one on his own, really, in that attack as a brilliant player that can cut apart any defence. But USA have a little bit more of a wide range of players who could do damage. So it'll be interesting to see how they got on against each other, as sort of like a little preview for how they'll get on against England. So for me, standout performances, Bukayo Saka and Jude Bellingham were unbelievable. And really, we shouldn't be conceding those goals. So that's a bit worrying, but we won 6-2. So that's an amazing start to this World Cup. And I shall see you in about 1 second when I've watched the Wales and USA game. I've just finished the other game now. Obviously, as you can see from the screen, Aronson and Bale in action there in that game. And I kind of wanted to review this game because I wanted to talk about Adams and Aronson. And Adams started the game and is actually the youngest captain at the World Cup. It was decided between the USA players that Adams would take the captaincy, and we can tell from his time at Leeds that he's that sort of player, he's that sort of bloke, and fair play to him and well done to him for captaining his national team at such a young age. Aronson didn't start the game but did come on later on and did all Aronson sort of things. He wasn't able to affect the game too much, but we'll talk about why that was now. So when the game started, I was really impressed with the US team. They were sharp, they were quick out the blocks, they pinned Wales in, they pressed high, they created. Musa especially really impressed me because the way he took the ball in midfield, turned his man, and then drove the ball up the pitch was really, really good for me, and it really helped the US team out. And their goal came from a bit of ingenuity from Christian Pulisic, who's probably their most famous player, so it's weird I couldn't remember his name. The ball was won by Musa in midfield, dropped to Pulisic's feet, and Pulisic managed to run through and actually catch out the Wales defence with a nice sort of reverse pass into the pathway of Timothy Weah, who is, yes, George Weah's son, ex-Ballon d'Or winning George Weah. His son ran through on goal and did the finish that Bamford's been trying to do the last couple of weeks, that outside of the foot finish, but actually did it to perfection and put the US team 1-0 up. And in that first half, I was thinking, oh, okay, I kind of get what these US fans have been talking about with how good these players can be, because they've got young talent, they've got exciting attacking players. And for me, they played really, really well in that first half, and I was really impressed. They were dynamic, they were sharp, they pressed high, they got into good areas, and they squeezed the ball well. But in the second half, it was almost a bit of a Leeds performance, you know. That's what it reminded me of, because in the same way that when we played against Crystal Palace, we started excellently, we had a good first half, we did against Southampton as well, but we tailed off towards the end of those games, and I feel like that's really what happened in this game. Wales were able to come back into it. Dan James, obviously, who is a Leeds player but a loanee at Fulham, was taken off at half-time and replaced by Kiefer Moore of Bournemouth. And he really sort of changed the dynamic. I don't think, without him being absolutely fantastic or excellent, his hold-up play was good. He gave the US defenders something more to think about, because he was just an aerial presence. And like I say, with his hold-up play, he's a big lad. He's 6'5", and I think what Clive Tilsley said was he put the fear of God into those US defenders, and I think that's kind of what happened. I think they sort of thought, okay, this is a different proposition now. We're quick, we can deal with pace with Dan James, and Dan James didn't really get a sniff in that first half. And then obviously Dan James gets taken off, Kiefer Moore comes on, and the game completely changes, and it was completely a textbook game of two halves. And I thought that Wales played really, really well in that second half, and they showed kind of that both of them were capable of winning that game, but in the end, neither of them did, which is a good result for England, because if you want anything from that game, it's for them both to get a draw against each other, because I think each other were one of their best chance of picking up points in this group. And Gareth Bale popped up with the equaliser from the penalty spot, and he was the one who was brought down for it. But other than his actual scoring of the penalty, I don't think Gareth Bale played that well, to be honest. I think he was overcomplicating things at times where he needed to keep them simple. He tried little flicks and stuff that weren't coming off. His passes weren't really landing. I'd be interested to see what his passing accuracy stats were, because I don't think he made that many successful passes in that game and wasn't able to get involved to the extent that he would have wanted to. But big game players like Gareth Bale are there for those big moments, and that is what happened, and he scored that penalty. So that was a quick summary of the game. In terms of our actual players, talked a bit about what Aronson did when he came on. He wasn't able to affect the game as much because, like I said, that was when Wales were in the ascendancy and US were trying to play on the break a little bit more then. But Tyler Adams, I think, was quintessentially Tyler Adams. He was himself. He won the ball in good areas. He was aggressive. He broke up the play. He started attacks, and he also made some sort of game-saving challenges back in his own defensive third as well. So I think Tyler Adams showed himself to be that captain and to be that captain material, leading by example. And yeah, there was a lot of bookings for the US, but they managed to keep the heads and not get anyone actually sent off. But Tyler, yeah, I think he captained the team well in that first half, and I think he also captained the team well in the second half, not to let the game run away from them, because he was always in there showing that work rate, showing that he can win the ball back and get that ball up the pitch again for the US team to attack. And for the rest of the group stage, I don't really know what that means for them, because they'd have been hoping to get 3 points against each other, because although Iran were terrible against us, they're not a bad side. They hold out well at the back, and they play on the break with good strikers, which you talked about in the first half of the video. So I don't know how either of those teams will actually fare against Iran. So it's going to be an interesting one, because England have already got that 3 points, which is vital. And I think England will beat either US or Wales, maybe both, but I think we will beat one of them. So I think England will go through, especially now that we've already secured those 3 points and everybody else is on 0 or 1 points. I think it sets up the group stage well for us, but it'd be interesting to see who goes through between Wales, Iran and US, because I think it could be any of them at this point, because I don't think Iran gave the best account of themselves today, but I think they could do better against the likes of Wales and the US. So that's my kind of World Cup roundup. There'll be plenty of more of these on the way throughout the World Cup, where obviously, because I'm English, I'll talk about the England game, and then I'll also do little bits of roundups on other players as well, because Rasmus is in action tomorrow for Denmark, so I will have to have a little look at that and maybe get something together on him as well. But let me know if you did enjoy this video, subscribe if you're new. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you next time with another World Cup update on Leeds Lately.